साउंड आला ना पण म्हणजे साउंड आला ना व्यवस्थित. सर एक मिनिट. Good morning. Today we are starting with the topic body fluids and circulation. So what is circulation? Circulation is a very important life process in which our body is supplied with all the nutrients, all the enzymes, proteins, hormones, oxygen, whatever is needed to our body is provided with the help of circulation. Our body is always in requirement of nutrients and oxygen. So it has to be supplied. So blood vessels are the one which can supply blood to all the cells and tissues of the body. Now, we'll start with the very small unicellular organisms like amoeba or paramecium. So they are made up of only a single cell. So the single cell provides all the life processes. Okay. So in that, circulation is also very simple. It is done by a simple process which is called diffusion. So mainly amoeba and paramecium, they live in water. So their diffusion is very, it's a very easy process. It can be done very easily by exchange of nutrients, exchange of gases. So diffusion basically is the movement of substance from higher concentration to lower concentration. So whenever the cell is in need of oxygen, it will take up oxygen which is present in the environment by the method of diffusion. Or whatever waste is present in the cell, it has to be excreted out. So it is again done by diffusion. So it is the movement of waste from the high concentration which is present in the cell to its surrounding. But when we move to more complex organisms, so there is a different system here. So basically, complex animals like human beings, they have different tissues, organs, which perform this function. Okay, like respiration is done by lungs, digestion is done by alimentary canal, then circulation is done by heart, blood vessels, and blood which is present. So it becomes more complex. Diffusion alone will not help to transport the essential nutrients or gases all the cells of the body. So here we are talking about mainly the human circulatory system. So what does it consist of? It consists of heart, which is the pumping organ. Then it has blood vessels, arteries and veins. Then it has blood. Okay, so now again, when we differentiate between circulation, we have two types of circulation again. One is single circulation and the other is double circulation. Now, what is the meaning of single circulation and double circulation? Now, in single circulation, blood goes into the heart only once. So that is single circulation. And in double circulation, blood enters the heart twice, two times. Okay, so let's see the examples. Single circulation is mostly seen in animals like invertebrates and fishes. So blood enters the heart only once. And in double circulation, blood enters the heart twice and it takes place in amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals. So I'll repeat again. In single circulation, blood enters the body only once, and in double not body, heart only once, and in double circulation, blood enters the heart twice. Now, in let's talk about double circulation in detail. So the heart has 4 chambers. I'm drawing a very easy diagram to explain. It has 4 chambers. We'll discuss it later. So this is the atrium. These are the ventricles. Atrium, ventricles. This is the right atrium. This is the left atrium. This is right ventricle. This is the left ventricle. So in double circulation, what happens? First, the deoxygenated blood gets collected over here in the ventricle atrium, then it goes to the ventricle, then it goes to the lungs. From the lungs, it gets oxygenated, and again it comes to the left atrium, then to the right ventricle, and then it is pumped out of the body to reach all the cells and organs of the body. So this is called the double circulation because once blood is in deoxygenated form and then it enters as in deoxygenated form, and second time it enters at oxygenated form. In one cycle it comes to the heart twice, so that so it is called as double circulation. Now there is one more classification which we are going to see here. It is open circulation and closed circulation. Now, what is this? Open and closed circulation. Now, in some animals, like I'll draw a diagram for you. In some animals, blood, it is carried through this blood vessels, but then they come in contact with the cells or body tissues directly. They open up into the cells or body tissues directly, like this. So they are called as open circulatory system. Okay, so these blood vessels, they carry blood directly open up into some organ or some tissues. So that is called as open circulatory system. And in some animals, the blood does not come directly in contact with the cell or body cavity. They are enclosed completely. So they are enclosed completely. So here, they do not come in direct contact with any organ or cell. Okay, so they supply blood through capillaries and it is closed. It is not open. So it is called as closed circulatory system. It is seen in birds, mammals. Now, some of the animals, they have 3-chambered heart and some have 4-chambered heart. So the ones which have the animals which have 3 chambered heart are amphibians and reptiles. And animals which have four-chambered heart are birds and mammals. So what do you mean by three-chambered? So I told you that we have four chambers: the atrium, the ventricle. So in three-chambered heart, they have a single ventricle and two atrium. So here there is a mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, it's present in amphibians and reptiles. So they can tolerate this mixing of uh, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. But but birds and mammals, they have four-chambered heart. So they have two atrium, two ventricles. Here, the deoxygenated blood is present, and here oxygenated blood is present. And mixing of this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood does not take place. In case of birds and animals, because they have four-chambered heart, they cannot tolerate the mixing. Okay, because the energy requirement of birds and mammals are very high. They constantly require oxygenated blood, and they have to remove deoxygenated blood from their cells. So that is why mixing is not allowed. So these are the examples of animals which have three-chambered heart and four-chambered heart. Okay, now we'll come to the structure of heart. So heart is present in the pericardium cavity, called as pericardium cavity. Okay, and this pericardium cavity has two walls. One is outer pericardium and inner pericardium. So it is basically the main function is to protect the heart. So outer pericardium is called as parietal pericardium. Inner one is called as visceral pericardium. And in between these two walls, there is a space which is filled with pericardial fluid. It's again, the function is to protect the heart. Then coming to the walls of heart. Heart also has walls which protects the heart. Three walls of heart. So these are the three walls: epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. Myocardium, it's made up of muscles. That is why the name myo. It is made up of muscles. Basically, the function of all this is to protect the heart. Then coming to the internal structure, what is exactly present inside the heart that we are going to see in a diagrammatical way. So this diagram is very important. It explains everything, all the parts. I'm drawing the internal structure of the heart. It's a simple diagram. Okay, so I hope understanding. I'll explain how the, the working of the heart is. So, right now, we'll label all the parts. So this is called the right atrium or auricle. Atrium is also called as auricle. This is the right ventricle. This is the left atrium. This is the left ventricle. There's a septum which is present between the two ventricles, which prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Then this is the superior vena cava. This is the inferior vena cava. These are pulmonary veins. This is the pulmonary artery. Okay, one goes to this side and the other goes to the right side. So there's two bifurcation of pulmonary artery. This is also the pulmonary artery. And this is the aorta. There's a bifurcation, which is this is a bifurcation of pulmonary artery. It goes like this, and this is the aorta. Starting from here, this is the artery aorta, which continues. Okay, so I hope this diagram is clear. Okay, now what is happening? Well, this is the internal structure of a heart. Yeah, there are some valves also which are present. Let's talk about the valves. The valves which are present in the heart and their importance. There is a bicuspid valve. There is a tricuspid valve. And the semilunar valves. In semilunar, there is a pulmonary valve and aortic valve. Now let's see where these valves are present. Bicuspid valve is also called as the mitral valve, and it is present over here between the left atrium and ventricle. So here is the sorry, there's a spelling mistake. This is the right spelling. Bicuspid. So here's the bicuspid valve present. I'm sorry, I'm making this mistake. Bicuspid valve. And tricuspid valve is present here between the right atrium and ventricle. So it's present here. Tricuspid. Then in semilunar valves, you have pulmonary and aortic valves. Pulmonary valve is present here at the base of pulmonary arteries. Here is the pulmonary valve present. And aortic valve is present here at the base of the aorta. Here is the aortic valve present. There's no valve present here. The opening of the pulmonary vein, because the opening is oblique. So the basic function of valve is that it prevents the backflow of blood. So here in this case, the opening oblique, so that flow is not possible. But here in this cases, when there's contraction, backflow of blood is possible, and that is why we have this valves which prevent the backflow of blood. So this was about the valves and the location where these valves are present. Now coming to the working of heart. We'll come to the working of heart. I'll explain you with the help of the same diagram. Now, starting with deoxygenated blood. Now, we have superior and inferior vena cavas. Okay, they open in the right auricle. They bring the deoxygenated blood from our body. Superior brings deoxygenated blood from the upper body, from the head region, neck region, shoulder region, and inferior vena cava brings deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body, from the legs, stomach, etc. Okay, this deoxygenated blood comes in the auricles. Then when there is a systole means when there's a contraction of auricles, these auricles, when they contract, this deoxygenated blood enters the ventricles. Okay, then after the ventricular systole means contraction. This deoxygenated blood is then it enters the pulmonary artery. From this pulmonary artery, it is sent to the lungs. Okay, it bifurcates. One goes to this side and other goes to this side. You have two lungs, two pairs of lungs. One is here and one goes. So this from the pulmonary artery, this deoxygenated blood is sent to the lungs. So there it gets oxygenated. Okay, I'll repeat. Superior and inferior vena cava brings the deoxygenated blood from all the parts of the body and then it pours it into the auricles, the right auricle. When this atrium or auricles they contract, this deoxygenated blood enters the ventricles. From here, when this ventricles contract, it is sent to the lungs through pulmonary artery. And in the lungs, it gets oxygenated. After that, this oxygenated blood from the lungs, it is now oxygenated. The pulmonary veins, it brings this oxygenated blood and pours it into the left auricle. Okay, now here in the left auricle, you have oxygenated blood. Okay, so at that time, this blood enters here. When there is systole again, when this auricles they contract, this blood enters the ventricles. It's in oxygenated form. When this ventricles contract, this oxygenated blood enters the here in the aorta, and from aorta it is supplied to all the parts of the body. So now you might have understand what double circulation is properly, because the same blood once in deoxygenated form enters the auricle, it is sent to the lungs, there it becomes oxygenated, it is again it comes to the left atrium in oxygenated form. So that means that is entering the heart twice. Circulation. About this names, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. Now this term pulmonary is basically related to lungs. Both pulmonary, because this artery is carrying blood to the lungs, and pulmonary vein, it is bringing that oxygenated blood back into the heart. So many times there is a confusion that what is an artery. आर्टरी बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि आर्टरी ये होता है जो हमेशा ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड कैरी करता है और वेन्स ये होता है जो हमेशा डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड कैरी करता है. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे, हियर द थिंग इज this artery is carrying deoxygenated blood and this vein, pulmonary veins, is carrying oxygenated blood. So basically it's not like that. You always have to remember the arteries are the ones which carry blood away from the heart. Okay, this artery, they always carry blood away from the heart and veins always towards the heart. Okay, even aorta is a type of artery. It is carrying oxygenated blood away from the heart. So don't get confused here that arteries हमेशा oxygenated blood carry करती है. ऐसा नहीं. Arteries वो होती है जो blood heart से बाहर लेके जाती है to other parts of the body. So same is happening here. Artery, pulmonary artery is carrying blood away from the heart, and vein is carrying blood towards the heart. Okay, so this is a point which you have to always remember, and don't get confused that arteries always carry oxygenated blood or veins always carry deoxygenated blood. ऐसे नहीं है. Okay, so I'll just repeat the entire working of heart once again. So these are the vena cavas which are carrying deoxygenated blood. It pours into the right atrium, then it is supplied to the ventricles, it goes to the pulmonary artery, it sends to the lungs. From lungs, the blood gets oxygenated, it is carried back by the pulmonary vein, and then it enters the left atrium, then the ventricle, and then to the aorta, and sent to the other part of the body. This was the working of the heart. Now the next part is about the cardiac cycle. Now I told you before there's a systole and diastole. Now what is that we're going to see? Okay. Atrial systole. Systole, this word means contraction. Systole means contraction and diastole means relaxation. Now what happens during atrial systole? The atrial, they contract so that the blood enters the ventricles. This atrial systole, the duration is 0.1 seconds. Atrial diastole is the phase when this atrium is in relaxed state. It is for 0.7 seconds. Then comes the ventricular systole when the ventricles they contract. The duration is 0.3 seconds. And then comes the ventricular diastole. It's 0.5 seconds. Okay, now during atrial systole, when the atrium they contract, at that time the valves, the cuspid valves are open, and during this relaxation they get closed. During ventricular systole, what happens? These AV valves. AV means atrioventricular valves. They close. Means the bicuspid and tricuspid valves close during ventricular systole. And during ventricular diastole, when the ventricles they are in relaxed state, at that time the semilunar valves they close. Okay, I'll repeat. During ventricular systole, the AV valves means the bicuspid and tricuspid valves they close, and during ventricular diastole, the semilunar valves means the pulmonary valves and the aortic valves they close. And due to the closure of it, there's a sound which is caused. This is the sound which is called as lub. And during the closure of semilunar valves, there's a sound which produces, it's called as dub. So this basically is why you hear the heartbeat, because of this lub and dub sound. And this is caused because the valves is closing. Okay, the lub and dub sound which you hear is because of the closure of valves. So this was about the cardiac cycle and the total time. See, it's for zero point 0.8 seconds of one cardiac cycle. So this was about the internal structure of heart. We have seen the working of heart, then we have also seen the cardiac cycle. Thank you so much.